Hello and welcome to the Call to Courage podcast. I'm Gareth Pickering and my guest today is Daniel Moe. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, Gareth.
Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Appreciate you taking the time to drop in and do this creation. I know you are in San Marcos only for a few days and you guys have been super busy.
Mm-hmm.
How's your time been in San Marcos?
It's been wonderful being here on the lake. I love being near a lake, and it's so magical here, you know.
Awesome.
And I love the tranquility of the nature in this little lagoon of San Marcos. And then there, you know, also all the culture that's around. You know, going to see Santiago yesterday was a real cultural experience.
Did you enjoy it?
For sure. Yeah. It was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Got a nice a tour of the church there.
Okay.
And a bit of the history of, you know, the Mayan and the Catholics, and wow, what a
That's strong, eh?
complex, strong, rich history.
Mm-hmm.
You could go deep into it.
Mm-hmm. And then you've also dropped a little bit into the scene. You went to some festivals. How was that?
Yeah, we went to the Embody Festival one day and did one of the workshops.
Uh-huh.
We did the Wheel of Consent workshop, and yeah, that was fun and wonderful. Good quality connection with some people, and also hear another teacher teach some things that we've been exploring. And then last night, we went up to see. We went and danced up at the Eagle's Nest.
It's beautiful, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
looking down at the lake from the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing the mountains, the volcanoes, and the lights of the villages, and yeah, beautiful. Yeah, fun. We got cozy up in the bean bags, and
Cool.
it was beautiful. Yeah.
Great. So maybe to let our audience know who you are, share a little bit about your journey. I normally use like the analogy of the three roles that men get to play in their lives as being a father, son, and brother.
Okay.
So let us know who you are by unpacking some of those different roles that you've played in your time on this planet.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd like to start with the son that I've been. I grew up in Minnesota, in the suburbs of Minnesota, middle class, Middle West, and yeah, it was a very organized and safe and traditional Midwestern upbringing, you know. We had a lake cabin that we went to for a week at a time in the summer. And that's when I really felt like that's when my dad wasn't super busy working, and we had alternate schedules, so I didn't see him a lot through my teenage years. And some of my best memories were up at the cabin and on the lake. Mm-hmm. That's what this reminds me of, the lake here.
Awesome. I have a similar memory as well. We used to go to a place on the lake as well. And
okay.
I think when I came here, there was a part of this experience that took me back to the place we always used to go as a family. And just the access to mountains and nature just did something for my soul then. And I think I felt sort of at home when I got back here.
Oh, yeah. And I've had like hundreds of recurring dreams with our lake as the theme in the cabin. And so, this has been nourishing to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so, I think I had a need for something different and more of a challenging life than like sort of the Midwestern suburban life had to offer me, you know. And
when did you work that out? When do you feel that for the first time?
Well, I felt that for the first time. It was when I went away to college, and then I did a semester abroad program. And I went to Prague, Czechoslovakia in 1989. And I went there by myself, and it was, wow, what a journey of self-discovery, and also just an eye-opener to what the different cultures this world has to offer and the different perspectives on everything. And it was just, I just remember like not wanting to come back, just to keep on that journey and explore. Yeah, one part of it was I went to Morocco, and completely different reality than even Europe,
Yeah.
And just fascinated by the deep, rich culture of like the market that seemed like it hadn't changed for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the mule cart bringing fresh peppermint tea every morning into the square.
Wow.
Yeah, it just really opened my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's when you decide that you want to have a different life. How was your relationship as a son with regards to, how were you for your parents?
Well, that's they. I was a risk taker, and they were often concerned about my safety when I'm traveling, and I kept in touch with them and reassured them that everything was okay, and that I was really loving what I was doing and what I was seeing and being inspired by. Yeah.
And then you played a role as a brother. You have siblings, or?
I have one younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would when we were younger, there were times when I picked on him. I wasn't I remember like being mean to him sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's. I remember then I moved away. I went to college. I didn't see him for a few years, and when we reconnected, I realized, how important my connection was with him, and I basically told him, please forgive me. I love you,
So you went through that process?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And we became very close after that, and we're still close today. We don't really keep in touch all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but we're on a lot of ways like really on the same level and really get and understand and love each other. And we even look a lot alike. He's 3 years younger, but we look almost like twins. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where is he now?
He's in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives pretty near my parents and where we all grew up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He bought a little farmhouse with his wife, and they have a 4-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a stay-at-home father, and I have like so much respect for him doing that.
Why?
Because of the I would imagine like the sacrifice of not pursuing something in the outside world meaningful to him. That's typical of an American man,
Mm-hmm.
a modern man.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, just the beautiful connection that he has with his daughter. There's this they're like one. They like communicate with each other on very subtle, funny levels, and yeah, it's just so beautiful to see. Something that, yeah, I hope to have again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're a brother, and you have been a son, and for a while you've also been a father.
Yeah, I have 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Malia, she's 22. She just turned 22, and Sophia turned 16 in a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And they're back in Hawaii right now, where I'm flying back to tomorrow. And yeah, looking forward to spending the holidays with them.
Mm-hmm.
They were both born at home in my presence on the big island of Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're amazing, beautiful, intelligent, motivated girls. Yeah.
What's it like watching your daughters be born at home?
Wow. It was powerful. It was, experience like no, I can't even describe it. I remember when Malia was being born in the bathtub, and that morning I had a workshop that I was going to go teach, and Mama was like, "Go ahead and do it. Everything's going to be okay." I'm like, "But the contractions are like 7 minutes apart, So I stayed home, called the midwife, and And yeah, by 11 o'clock, she was born. Yeah, and at that point, it's like my life started over again. everything just changed. Initiation, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what's that journey been like, being a dad? Like, what are some of the challenges of being a father?
Well, I think, we didn't stay together as a family. And so the challenge has been often the distance that I've had from my daughters. Specifically, Sophia, the youngest one, she's she was very young, so she didn't know much of a difference, but Malia, it was I can see how it was very painful for her, and we're working through a lot of that stuff right now on this. We're having a strong healing journey at the moment about that. Yeah.
How's the journey been with reconciling that part of yourself?
Could you ask me again in a different way? Yeah.
Is there a part of you that looks back on the version of you that made decisions in the past and has had to reconcile with a version of yourself, or has it just felt super cruisy the whole way?
No, it has not felt super cruisy for sure, man. Learned so much. The biggest lessons of my life. I think when a person has children, that's a priority, And I think I wasn't ready. And there were things in my life that I couldn't explore in that realm, It's hard to talk about. Yeah. We're going pretty deep, pretty fast, and I'm having some fear and resistance right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's talk about your creative process.
Okay, thank you.
So you are the one and only person I've ever met that is a glass blower.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So
there's a whole bunch of us.
Yeah, but not thousands or millions.
No, probably hundreds, maybe thousands. Yeah. Seems like there's more and more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Share that journey. How did you come to find your gift that you wanted to share with the world?
Oh, well, I was studying art at the university in Wisconsin, and I was studying the broad range of art that they had to offer, everything from photography to painting, drawing, sculpture, clay, steel, wood, filmmaking, music. And there was one studio in the department that I avoided, and it was the glass studio. Because the intensity of the energy coming out of that studio with the fire and the loud music and the huge personalities and the strong egos that were in there intimidated me. Yeah, so I avoided it until my last semester of university. And
do you get the choice to avoid it? Is that something you're just choosing whichever class you want to go to?
Yeah. There was, I guess, one class that I wish I would have taken was jewelry. I didn't take jewelry.
Okay.
But so I finally ended up choosing glass, and immediately I burned myself on the furnace on the first gather.
Okay.
But then, just the magic of this material. It's literally in the form of heat and fire. It's energy being put into a solid, an earth element. And even though I'm working with the glass itself, it's also working with the the element of energy and fire and heat. And so between those two, plus water, plus air, it's so like elemental and so satisfying in an immediate, tangible way.
Mm-hmm.
It's and immediately gratifying. It's the glass itself is so beautiful that
Mm-hmm.
no matter what you do with it, almost it's like beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was fun. It was just fun. I enjoyed it so much. Yeah, and that was at the university. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we have a similar sort of love for fire and volcano and lava based on where I live and
Mhm.
a few things in my reality. That feels like a theme in your life as well, living
Mhm.
on Big Island and working
Yeah.
with this material.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I before I even knew about Hawaii and volcanoes, I was making pieces to look like lava in Wisconsin, and just loving this crackled material that's glowing red from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those ideas that I was exploring then, once I came to visit Hawaii years later, wow, that's what this is. This is the energy of the volcano, of the lava. And it's the same material, the same creation, the same creative process.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I came to Hawaii in the year 2000 because it was Y2K. Remember Y2K?
I remember. The world was going to end.
The world was going to end.
Seems like it's always about to end.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, that was the place that I thought if I was going to be somewhere, Hawaii would be a good place, you know? So I was there in January of 2000 and immediately discovered that there was a public glass studio that was opening up that I could work at, which is quite unusual. It hasn't happened before or since then, just right when I showed up. And so I began my professional career as a glass artist. That was 10 years into my exploration of glass.
And until then, you're doing it as a hobby, or just
Until then, going to school, taking workshops, apprenticing, every chance I get to have my hands on it and to learn something from somebody who knows a lot more than I do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just go and watch people work or do anything to help sweep the floor, you know, run to the store and get ice. So I was working for a glass artist who was doing these huge sculptures. And in order to get close to the sculptures, he would have to put a vest on filled with ice. And my job was to go to the store and get the ice to fill his vest.
Wow.
So he could get close to this larger than human sculpture that he was making.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the reason you need ice is because that thing's red hot while you're molding it into the shape that you wanted. Right?
Yeah. It's he's probably, you know, it's 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit in the furnace.
Okay.
And then you have to keep it above 1,200 degrees in order to be able to work it.
Okay.
If it gets below 1,000 degrees, it's going to crack. And then it's kind of over.
Okay.
So it's a constant like reheating. But yeah, that was working for that man. His name is Martin Blank. And then working at Pilchuck Glass School was another huge eye-opener for me, because all of the maestros and masters of glass from around the world would converge on this glass school every summer for the whole summer.
Wow.
It's a community and up on a 15,000 acre tree farm up on the mountain overlooking Puget Sound, and another immersion in mastery. Yeah. And that was the year before I moved to Hawaii.
Okay.
And I was deciding whether or not I wanted to continue in Seattle or come to Hawaii. But once I went to Hawaii, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, and I'm tired of being cold. You know, it's warm and yeah, lovely. I just love it there. And that's where I discovered the volcano. Yeah, Pele. And Pele is the Hawaiian goddess of lava, and of the volcano, and of the wind, and of creation and destruction. And I just felt that it feels like she welcomed me in, you know? There's a psychic, a famous psychic, 20 years ago. His name is Pila.
Okay.
And he wrote the book, The Sacred Mysteries of Hawaii, something like that.
Okay.
And I had a session with him, and he's like, bro, this is your home office. And I feel that.
You didn't need that confirmation there, right? You sort of had your idea that this was it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just getting off the plane and taking that first breath of air, it's like, oh, this is home. Yeah. Something about it. It's so wonderful.
Talk me through the creative process. What is it like being a creative all day, every day? Do you always find it you're flowing with inspiration all the time, or do you get like the equivalent of glass blower's block or something like that?
Well, you know, because of the demands of the studio and the resources and the time, and it takes a team of us to make a piece, you know? And so I find more often that I don't have enough time in the studio. I have more ideas and more inspiration than I actually can create. And so when we work, it's for an intensive amount of time, and I have a whole plethora of ideas written down or in my mind that come out during that time, you know? And it's really interesting because I noticed that if there's 2 months between my production, I'll go back into the studio after those 2 months, and my ideas and my skills and everything has progressed as if I was working the whole time. And I have chicken skin right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so it's I think it's a good balance to like be able to not be in the studio all the time. I turn the furnace off for periods of time, and during that time I'm usually processing pieces, finishing them and cataloging them and packing them and shipping them to our galleries. And but you know, I don't like really do much sketching of pieces, but they're like evolving in my mind and live while I'm creating them. And the pieces have been like really elemental. You know, I work with the theme of the ocean, and so I make beautiful ocean waves, always playing with the colors and the forms and the designs, and each one just has a life of its own and it's evolving. And also themes of the volcano, different textures and colors and shapes and forms and flows. Those pieces are more of like a real spontaneous, in the moment creative process. And then more recently, I've been allowing myself to explore some forms and designs where I sit with the piece and I'm drawing on the piece and carving out imagery and patterns, and it's like there's a part of the process that's hot and live and very energetic, and then there's another part where I'm completely by myself for 8 hours, intricately carving the design in a piece, which is more of a meditative state, you know. And that's when a lot of the more meaningful, deeper like wisdom and creative expression comes out, you know.
It's really beautiful hearing you speak about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How do you find that? Like, did you just get lucky that one day this came to you? Because I think there's quite a few people maybe listening to this show that are like wondering how to find their thing.
Oh.
And I know I've tried a few things in my world, but it's not like I suddenly went, this is it, I'm in, and then just been taken by the muse for the rest of my life. That, like, how do you think that came to you? Were you just open to it, or inspiration, or how would somebody find it is maybe a better opportunity, a better question. I don't know.
Well, when I was younger, I always thought, gosh, I want to just be good at something, you know, one thing, and I wanted it to be unique too, you know. I wanted it to be something that is unusual for some reasons. It just holds my interest better, you know, and not everybody is doing it. So I think the way I discovered it was just like, I remember coming back from the studio the first couple of years of doing it, and like my girlfriend at the time would say, "Wow, I just see your face when you come back from the studio, and I can see you're doing something you really love to do."
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that thing, everybody has the thing that they love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just do that.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a process of listening, to really listening to what you like.
Listening and trusting. Yeah, trusting that doing what you really love to do, that's fun and fills you up. I think that's the thing to pursue.
What about the resistance you felt to the glass blowing studio when you were in college? That's interesting.
Yeah.
What was have you ever rethought through that and wondered what that was?
Yeah, I think it was just I don't consider myself like a big personality, a big loud, you know. I've discovered there's a lot of like powerful personalities in the glass world. Okay. And this is interesting because, and specifically men, you know, and I was intimidated by powerful men. Mm-hmm. And I think that's now that I've never come to this before, but I think that was the thing that was keeping me, keeping it at bay. I didn't want to have to confront these powerful men and be subject to their power somehow. Yeah, man. Uh-huh.
That's got me right to where I need to be, because yesterday I was in my men's circle, which we spoke about. Yeah.
Uh-huh. How was that for you?
It was good. I jumped in for the first time to do some work on a process, on a topic that's been sort of mulling around in my head. Yeah. Which has, as a theme, money and power at its base, like with what I wanted to look at. Okay. And one of the questions that came to me was, how do you define power? Uh-huh. And I'd like to ask you that question. So how do you define a powerful man? What makes someone powerful?
Oh. Wow. What's a powerful man? What am I when I'm powerful? I think it starts with knowing who I am and expressing who I am with courage, speaking what's actually going on for me. And that's very challenging for me to be self-connected enough and courageous enough to speak what my truth is. That's why I wear this lapis right here.
Okay, I noticed that
on
last
my
night. Yeah.
on my throat chakra to help support me in speaking my truth. Mm-hmm. I think it starts there, speaking, and I'm better at being my truth. I think it's both speaking, saying what I am, and being who I am. Okay. You know, being the man that I think I am, and being the man who I say that I am. I think from that point is the place of power. And you know, I used to think it's somebody who has. I used to think it was an external authority. Where I think if I know who I am, and I'm being that, then that authority is inside. Then I have my power inside. And then when I'm in that, and more every day, I'm getting more and more in tune with that. And I can be in the presence of pretty much any man now and be able to really be myself and look and see another brother, another young boy going through a journey of being a man in this world. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a journey for me as well. I think it's the self-acceptance of every single part of ourselves is really the only way to get to a place of being comfortable. Otherwise, from what I understand, I project all of the things that I don't feel about myself onto you or the person with money or resources or the gig or the good-looking wife or whatever those stories are.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with who I am, so therefore, I don't feel comfortable being in that space. And so, yeah, that resonates. So how do you practice that? How do you bring those three pieces together?
Well, the cornerstone of my life has been this men's circle I've been sitting in. And that's it's been at the beginning of my journey there, I was doing a lot of my own deep work, a lot of expression of feelings that's a safe place to express them,
Inside the circle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anger. I've been a sobbing, blubbering, snot-filled, tear, fetal position on the floor mess several times. And just so every week, every Tuesday since 2009, so it's going on 14 years. It's been a cornerstone practice to go and support other men. And it's a place where I now go to be served, but also to serve, and to help support men to do what they need to do and say what they need to say and feel what they need to feel. Yeah, and by supporting that and witnessing other men, it just reaffirms every time how much we are the same, and how much we all have the same needs and the same feelings and some of the same problems, and so that is sort of like it's a validation that
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not exactly. Yeah. I'm not somebody by myself, isolated, the lone wolf, having to do everything on my own. Yeah.
One of the magical pieces of the men's circle, we're both in different men's circles, but the magical piece of it is the ability to be able to feel safe, is the agreement frame around which that men's circle is held.
Yeah.
Do you want to share some of those agreement frames? Because what I want to ask you next is, without going into specifics, I want you to unpack some of the themes that you dance with inside your circle.
Okay.
So start with the agreement frames. Like, what are some of the things that you guys use? Obviously not all of them, there might be a few, but what are some of the fundamental pieces that are important to hold a container for people to be able to speak the authentic truth safely?
Yeah. Well, one thing we do say is a hard agreement, and that is confidentiality. Whatever happens in the circle with another man, whatever another man says or another man does, I can't speak about it to anybody. Even if I come home and my wife asks, "So how was men's group tonight?" I can share my experience. I can share what I said and what I did and how I felt. And that's the most important key to safety in the group. And then there's a lot of encouragements that we have, like to come authentic, drop our mask, our personality. We can leave it at the door and come in with our authentic self, with our open heart, and come to listen and to have fun too. Yeah. And there are some communication encouragements as well that really help, like speaking in I statements.
Okay.
We've often heard someone say, when you do this and then you feel this way and then it's less powerful than speaking, I feel this way when this happens because I'm needing this particular thing. And also it's more interesting. Like if you're speaking in I statements, I'm very curious about what's going on. It's coming from you. I'm hearing about you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel those we have similar agreements in ours, and I think they're really, without those, there is no safe space. They're hugely important.
Yeah.
So those themes, what do you see coming up as themes for men inside your circle?
Wow. Let's see. Do you have an example of a theme that you?
So yesterday we were in my main circle was this theme of power and money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something that was brought to the circle as something to discuss or to?
It was something that I brought as one of the things that I wanted to work on, my own dance around some projection that I have with some people in my reality.
Yeah.
That, to me have access to resources at a level that I don't have. And some part of me I noticed was, projecting some sense of power onto this other being in a way that I felt like I abandoned a part of myself, even though I didn't actually move with it. But I had this thought in my mind of connecting with this person that was like, I wanted to be better friends with them or something like that, because in some way they had access to resources in a way that I didn't. And a part of me wanted to abandon my plan to acquire and develop my own resources because this person somehow has something that I didn't have. And so that was how I brought it to the circle.
Okay.
But like a theme for us has sometimes been money. We've discussed that in our circle a few times. Like, how much is enough money? Will we run out of money? What does money mean specifically? Like, does money create some sense of validation? Is it genuinely the only way you can create safety? Because I think many men in the world that I grew up in have some sense that without money, that's game over. So it's like some deeply rooted part of me for sure, which is like, I need to make sure that I've got enough money or I'm going to. Well, let me share how it came out yesterday in the circle. But
thank you. Yeah.
So what it actually was is there's a part in growing up in a third world country, something similar to Guatemala, which is there's no state support for you if you don't make it.
That was South Africa?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's always this sort of sense from a youngish age that you need to go out there, make your own money as a way to be able to make it in the world. Money gives you access to the resources and to buy the house and to put your kids through school and buy food, all of those.
Yes.
But some sense that if you don't do it, no one's there to look after you. Where if you live in a first world country like Sweden, you can do what you like. You're always going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I think deeply ingrained into the society in South Africa, the world that I grew up in, was the sense of like, we need to keep going. And there was this continual drive for more and more and more. And it's still an imprint. It's still an imprint in my world.
Yeah.
That I dance with. I've been looking at it as a, what is it? Like, I think I still carry some piece of some sense that my validation is linked to a bank balance or something like that, and I've been through phases when I've had lots of money and I've been through phases when I haven't, but it's always been there, that sense that I'm somehow linked to that. So that was something that came up for us as a theme. I don't know, have you danced with money?
I want to ask you a question about, there's like, you made an example of Sweden, that there's like sort of a government to back you up if you don't make it. That's like a safety net, basically, right? It's a sense of security, even if you don't make it. Is there a fear that comes that you can recognize of that lack of safety if you don't reach that level of financial security?
The practical example of where I'm at the moment is not so much rooted in that. I think I've got enough social capital to make sure that I would always be okay. I have enough skills and gifts. I don't think it's that base root level fear.
Okay.
At the moment, I'm in a place where this creation and the men's work that I'm putting out into the world, I've built it a little bit backwards. And what that means is I've got a team of people and I've got some overheads and I've got software to put all the things together and all the equipment in here.
Yeah.
And I don't have a business model that's cash flowing yet.
Okay.
So at the moment, I'm spending my savings in keeping this project going. And there have been opportunities in the past where I've put offers out into the world and I haven't found my voice. I've self-sabotaged. I've been spending a lot of time planning, but not a lot of time doing the thing, which is really men's work. And so I think I spent a lot of time dancing around the business model and how to monetize the product, specifically of what I'm doing at the moment, which I think kept me stuck from doing the thing. There was a time when I went through an initial phase of engaging with my founders launch, which was 8 men that came on a 6-week journey with us, and that felt amazing. Yeah. And then I was all inspired to go and do it. But then I spent like almost a year in this studio planning the next one. And it was like a part of me was blocking myself there, wrapped up in a good story that I'm like, I'm just about to refine the perfect blah, blah, blah. Right. But I was blocking myself. So I think where I'm at the moment with regards to money, it's like I was spending money that I'd made in crypto. I would put some money into Bitcoin early, made some cash there.
Yeah, I heard you.
And I've been flowing through that, and it's been good. And it's at a stage where it's like, if I continue to spend $3,000 to $5,000 a month on this project and it doesn't return that back, I'm going to have to do something else.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where I'm in this dance at the moment. And I'm working through it, but I know where the block is. It's with me. Like I need to surrender something and I need to trust. And so what that looks like in reality for me right now is a 90-day plan of showing up for the thing. I'm doing the podcast. I'm speaking to people that I feel inspired to do.
Thank you.
Because I just feel like that's really where I've got juice. Maybe the same way you feel when you're blowing glass. Like I feel there's something about having these types of conversations that have supported me so much that I'm like, this is what I need to be doing now. So doing the podcast and holding the weekly men's circle called the King Circle. Yeah. And I've got all the business stuff around it ready to go. But I'm just going to do that and I'm going to surrender all the business stuff. Okay. Yeah. And trust that that's going to fall into place and I'm going to be supported if I do what the Spirit is calling me to do. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I'm at the moment. But then I'm like, fuck, if I don't get the number by the end of February, like, I'm potentially going to have to make some changes. And I have some anxiety around that.
Yeah, of course.
It's also created a little bit of a dance in my connection with Araminta because she's wanting me to flow some financial abundance into my world, and she's feeling some anxiety watching me throwing money into this project for the last 4 years and not actually cash flowing it. Yeah. That she's like, I think she wants to support me, but she also wants to call me to presence in a way that, makes her, it's probably a valid concern. But what it manifests like in our relationship is sometimes like I'll be talking about work stuff and the conversation just seems to go sideways. We can't find ways to necessarily talk about work in a meaningful way that doesn't end up in her like being, I don't know, we just do things very differently first of all. Yeah. This is a deep topic. This is a deep topic and I can share some other stuff on this. Yeah, no, I think one of the things is Araminta's got a strong ability to magnetize in, like her feminine she can decide, I'm going to do an online course, and then she makes $7,000 in one email. I'm like, what the fuck?
I know, I can relate to that, man.
I'm like, fuck, man, I've been doing all the things, and I've got a coach, and I'm the masculine way, like fucking boom, 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 boom. Yeah. But I think when I try and speak to her from my masculine, I find her masculine to be a little bit like, I would say immature, like he needs some space to be able to meet me where I'm at. And so when we try and have a conversation at that level, we don't manage to meet. Okay. Yeah. And so we're working through that. We use this Inner Kingdom tool, which I shared with you as a way to be able to meet in those places. But I think if I was to talk about a theme in our relationship, my princess needs to grow up. Yeah. She's a bit young and a little bit starry-eyed, and she's very optimistic, and she falls in love too easily, and she can, be swept off her feet in a way that takes the entire kingdom along with her. Yeah. including in business. Like there's a part of me that's like, this is the best failure we've ever had. We'll just keep optimizing, but I'm actually not out there doing it. And we get swept up in get enamored by some of the online stuff. So that's my work to do. And for Minta, I think it's really, following through with strategy, her ability to be able to just hold presence at times. I think that's her work. So obviously we're a perfect match for one another.
Yeah.
We're dancing with this theme, but how it comes out is this, like wanting to try and navigate through this. And so, the money conversations we really need to have with our kings.
Yeah.
And sit down and have those conversations. But it needs to be safe, and it needs to be a space where we both feel that we can meet one another to be able to do it. And it doesn't always work. So, so that's the dance that I've been in specifically with money. And when someone comes into my reality that's already got the money piece dialed in, there's a part of me that's like, oh, what? Maybe I'll just copy what he's done, or like there's something that just, it takes me away from the part that's like, we're doing this thing, you know?
Yeah. And that's what you were referring to.
That's
earlier.
what I'm referring to, like that part of myself that abandons myself when something shiny comes along.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to keep on with it, something like that. So that's just what I was dancing
Keep
with.
doing what you love.
Yeah.
And trust yourself.
Yeah. And trust myself and trust that I'm going to be supported. That's the thing for me. Like I've never been without, but there is the sense that what if it doesn't work out or something?
Right, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. So what about in your?
So in our men's group we have a structure that sometimes we bring a theme.
Okay.
But most of the time we're tuning into we have these rounds, where we tune in with our feelings first. And I appreciate that you took the time with me before we got online here to check in with each other about our feelings, just to get just to connect and start creating this safety between us. And so with these different rounds that we go through, the first round is just feelings. What's everybody feeling? And sometimes if there's a large group, we have room for story, but sometimes it's just give me one word what you're feeling,
Okay.
And then we'll go into a warrior round, and then we deal with our accountability and any clearings and issues that we have with other people in the group or outside the group, which is really setting a safe container. It's another way, like you asked earlier, how do we create a safe container? And that's by every man there being accountable to the agreements they've made with themselves and with people in the group. And that if there's a lack of accountability, we have a process that brings me back into accountability, which really creates a tight container, And then we go into the work round, and everybody states what's the work. The statement is, my work tonight is, and then I state whatever's going on for me. And it's rare that we don't have somebody who has has something that they really need support around. And it's oftentimes leads back to some kind of unresolved issue that we've had with our father or our mother, or some belief that we took on that's not true, usually around the age of 6 or 7, that really served us at the time, served me at the time, and was appropriate, and really it showed up because it really wanted to protect me, and it really wanted the best for me. But it stayed around and became most of the time inappropriate when that shows up,
Have you got a theme like that in your life that you can share?
Oh, yeah, I have a theme that I don't matter, that my feelings don't matter, and that my thoughts don't matter, my contribution doesn't matter. And most of the time when I get triggered and find myself spun out, it can lead back to that wound of when I was a little boy, and I had these blocks, and I built this amazing city with my Hot Wheels cars, and I couldn't wait for my dad to get home to show him what I had done. And, you know, he's exhausted from work.
Mm-hmm.
He has no time and attention to give me. He sits down, and I just remember it was in the early 70s when that happened. And I link it to hearing Walter Cronkite talk about Vietnam, and I just hear, in Vietnam today, 17, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And I just made up that, that I don't matter, that the thing that I'm really excited about, that I want to share, that I really thought he would be excited about. And it just like broke my heart in a deep way, you know? Yeah, and it shows up still today. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel sad thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My theme has been around politeness and some sense of maybe caretaking or concern for others.
Okay.
Perhaps over self at times. And like you say, the strategy that really served me as a youngster was that my parents wanted us to be polite. And so my brother and I developed a strategy. I can't speak for him, for me.
Mm-hmm.
that politeness was a strategy that was rewarded. If I was polite at home, things seemed to go my way. It seemed to flow that when we went out with my parents, if I was polite to other people, my parents would be happy.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to work in the workplace. When I was polite to customers, I would get the deal. It was good for me when I was connecting with women. I was able to use that strategy. And I've actually spent some time using my inner kingdom tool to identify my inner polite boy, which I think I shared with you the other night, which is Charlie.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah. And it's Charlie from the Chocolate Factory who had politeness as a strategy that gave him the keys to the chocolate factory. It was like every other kid that had anything else except politeness, like didn't make it. And so also Charlie's about 7 years old, and he's continued to run this theme of politeness through my life, which has served me in many ways. And it, like you said, wanted to protect me at a stage.
Mm-hmm.
And like if I'm putting my work out into the world and I suddenly realized we're having an inner kingdom meeting where my manager and my builder and everybody inside me that's wanting to put this creation out into the world is working their asses off. But I've got a 7-year-old that says, listen, we're not going to do a Facebook Live because what if we offend somebody? Like I'm getting blocked by that. He shows up at that moment of like caretaking what other people might even think about what I talk about, or, you know, like there's something there, and clearly it's ridiculous because, you know, just go with what it is that you're doing, be your authentic self, cool. And Charlie's around, and so he shows up quite a bit, and getting to know him over the last few months has been a powerful way for me to look at this theme of politeness in my experience, where the superpower, obviously amazing to be polite, but where the shadow goes, where you use politeness as, you know, every tool to try and fix is just done with politeness, it doesn't always serve me.
Yeah. What happens when you're in a situation that that you feel disempowered, or like somebody might be taking an advantage of you, or there's a boundary issue? How does Charlie deal with like a boundary where you might have to say no and not be polite? I
think throughout my life, I've also recognized another character who's my rebel.
Okay.
And he's also like a warrior.
Yeah.
And he's based on the character from Fight Club, Brad Pitt's character from Fight Club. His name's Tyler.
Okay.
And I've always had Tyler. So I've always had these two polarities in my life, which is like I'm either super sweet or I'm just a complete rebel.
Okay.
And so I can be both of those. And I think Tyler can hold boundaries for me.
Okay.
He's also not very graceful with his boundaries sometimes. Like obviously it's not always good to be in that energetic space, but I think I can hold myself pretty well around that stuff. But I notice, I think maybe to answer your question is I recognize where when Charlie feels like I might upset the rest of the world, I think I call in like my saboteur who manages to block me doing the thing.
Okay.
So that's sort of how it shows up, like
Okay.
I'll talk myself out of doing it, or I'll find another reason, or I'll procrastinate, or I'll overcomplicate, or I'll spend a year in my studio defining the business model instead of doing the thing. And I think that's Charlie concerned about what might be perceived in the world as maybe improper, maybe a topic that's too hot for somebody, that type of thing. I think he's also the one when I get some hate on social media comments that's like, maybe we should just stop this whole thing,
Okay. Yeah.
caretaking every single person, but it's fucking exhausting
Yeah.
to be there the whole time. And so rather than do that, then I'll be like, he'll call in somebody else and make a story that the whole rest of us buy internally, that I need to maybe reconsider this or think about it, and that's not actually really what I need to be doing, which is just keep going.
We want to be loved and accepted and appreciated.
Yeah, and I want to make a difference, and so
And stick your neck out there and be courageous and vulnerable.
Yeah, and recognize where sometimes as a 44-year-old man, like, it doesn't serve to make decisions from a 7-year-old's perspective. Love that little boy, love him for all his gifts and superpowers that he carries, and let him know that we're 44 now. Yeah, and 43. But that this is how old you are, and that you're in a space where you can choose to do something different. You've grown up, you've moved from that place, and in many ways, like the rest of the inner kingdom has been putting in the hours to do this next thing. We hear you, and we're going to be okay. Yeah.
I love you, Charlie. Appreciate you. You can't drive the bus right now.
Exactly. Or you can't be there in lovemaking. He shows up in my intimate connections as well, which is so interesting. It's kind of weird.
Okay.
Which is me caretaking, like, being in a place where I go to that sort of soft, gentle, polite polarity, which is sort of where I've been able to move. But it's you don't want to be there forever. You need to find different ways to keep the intimate connection alive. And so I think there's been a part of Charlie that's also I've recognized, obviously not consciously until recently, and it sounds pretty weird, but I find in my intimate connection sometimes I'm just showing up as a 7-year-old, like making sure that everything's cool, but that's not so sexy.
Yeah, it's not very attractive. I can relate. I can relate to that. Yeah.
So that's been a theme for me. I want to ask you about you and your partner Maria, right?
Yeah, Marava.
Yeah. Was Maria?
She changed her name a few years ago.
Okay,
officially to Marava. Yeah.
Okay, so you and Marava hold couple circles.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that about? Like, I've heard of men's circles and women's circles, but I want to hear a little bit more about what is a couple circle.
Well, originally it was inspired by.
Can I ask you to take a break? I'm going to let
definitely.
you go now to get some food. Okay, cool. Okay, we're back.
Yeah. Thank you. I imagine we can edit out part of this. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we'll leave it in.
That's great. It's authentically us. So in 2009, I did the Mankind Project initiation and sat in a men's circle for several years. And then there was 4 other men that I was sitting with that came together, and we started playing with this idea of bringing this work into couples group. I had actually been introduced to some couples work early on in 2000 by Jack Zimmerman and his wife Jacqueline McCandless. And they have a book called Flesh and Spirit and The Way of Counsel. Jack wrote that one. And it was a community of couples that get together and share what's going on. They had a different structure than what we've developed, but it was in the back of my mind, And so around, I think it was 2011, 2012, that 5 couples came together, and we agreed to come together every Thursday night and do our work with each other. And we did that for 2.5 years. And it was based initially around the structure that we use in a men's group. And we played with it and discovered, not all men's processes work in a coupleship.
Okay.
And so we started adopting other nonviolent communication, some other processes from like Women Within, which is a women's initiation group. And it's been evolving since then. So we were 2.5 years solid with those guys.
Okay.
A few people fell out. We took a break. We came back together, and it spread into 2 groups. And now, about 2 years ago, we split off and have begun leading our own group. And just as of recently, it's become, again, 5 committed couples.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful way to come together and learn communication skills with each other, and also to be in this community where we are witnessed in our process. We have some specific processes like a council or a couples dialogue, which I can give you links to.
Awesome.
Later. And there's so much power, back to power, and juiciness to be witnessed by 4 other couples in a deep process. I don't know what it is, but I guess it's similar to like the men's work. It's like, oh my gosh, all couples basically have the same issues and the same challenges and the same feelings, and every time someone sits in the middle and does their work, it's wow, that's our work too, you know? And it's been a beautiful journey, and after being involved in it for about 10 years, I don't understand how a couple can get through this world isolated in their own coupleship without some sort of community support around it, which we've discovered this really offers. Yeah. Wow. It's have chicken skin again. It's such a beautiful thing, you know? And it's simple too. You know, we offer each other, like this week in your coupleship, how did you show up for your partner, and how did your partner show up for you? And then the other person gets a chance to say that. And oftentimes, you know, even if we're close and communicate with each other, often this space is unique enough that things that have gone unsaid and unexpressed can come out. And, you know, also what do we mourn? Like, how do I mourn how I showed up this week? And to be able to, it's not even necessarily apology or forgive me, please forgive me, but it's more, I really wanted to show up better for you in this situation. And that can be like so profound to hear. Like when my partner says something like that to me, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, it's no longer that I don't matter, you know? Yeah. It's so soothing and healing. Yeah, there's so many parts to it. You know, we do stretches too, where we tune into what does our coupleship need? Does it need more fun, more intimacy, more this or that? And then we set up a stretch for that week. Okay. What are we going to do to meet that need? Okay. And then we check in the next group. Have you met that need? Or have you made that stretch? And
like a sense of accountability on that.
Accountability, yeah. And sometimes we go through the accountability process, but sometimes we'll say we have a stretch to go to the beach, but it rained on the days that we were going to go there. So we just tune back into what need we were trying to meet and meet it another way. And we're still in integrity because really we were trying to meet a need rather than necessarily the specific. So it's just been so helpful in so many levels. Yeah.
Is there any resource that someone who doesn't have access to you in your circle, like anybody listening to this that wants to deepen their journey with couplehood? I know you spoke about that book, something around counsel. What's the word?
Yeah, The Way of Counsel is exploration of counsel in many different formats.
Okay.
And not only couples.
Okay.
But also there's a resource that we helped develop. There's a booklet that our friends Lauren and Shakti developed that have most of the processes that we have
Awesome.
in there. And I can give you a link to that.
Sweet,
for
I'll
sure.
put those in the show notes. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
And then several other, like Stephen Levine, he does some great work, specifically the book Embracing the Beloved. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful resource. Nonviolent communication.
Uh-huh.
That is such a great tool for teasing apart feelings and needs and the strategy to get those needs met, because they can get so convoluted and really bring a lot of confusion into a relationship. So we use that. That's Marshall Rosenberg's work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Wheel of Consent inside your toolkit?
And Wheel of Consent too, yeah, awesome. With Betty Martin.
Yeah.
And we do something called the 3-minute game that we often use as one of our stretches to create more intimacy, and that's a fun tool that I can also give you a resource to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put all of it in the show notes. Cool.
Yeah.
So good. I want to circle back to a question I didn't get to ask you about men's work.
Yeah.
How do you articulate the reason that a men's circle works? Why does a men's circle work specifically? And I want to share where I'm sitting with this question at the moment. It's like in a world where I clearly want less separation and more cohesion and connection and everybody coming together and not wanting to create little cliques and groups.
Yeah.
I now go and create a group that's only for men, which excludes people in female bodies. What do you think is the magic of having men come together in a way that would be different had we included women into that circle?
Well, on the Big Island, we also have explored something called the Humankind Project, which involves both men and women, and it doesn't have to be couples. And so I haven't really explored that too much, but I've been sitting with people who identify as men, and so far they've all been in male bodies. And I really think there's maybe I'm old-fashioned, but there is something about, like, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. There is a difference between the masculine and the feminine in how we relate to each other, and to relate. There's something that the masculine needs to relate to itself that can only happen that way. I don't know if I'm being clear, but like in this modern world, often the masculine is in competition with each other, and it's a power struggle, a power thing again, But to get together and be vulnerable, share our feelings, share what's really going on underneath it all. I think it really brings out the real powerful man, the one that really loves his brother, really knows what to protect, and knows how to be a warrior in a healthy way, turning it inside and doing my work inside instead of projecting it on somebody else and being in competition with that other man and making them the enemy and the whole scenario. So I think it's just so important to reveal ourselves to each other, and I think there's way more power in that than any soldier,
Yeah, I mean, the theme for this podcast is a call to courage, and the original definition of courage was to speak from the heart. And yeah, I'm understanding that the more time I spend speaking from the heart, the more I cultivate courage in my experience. And so that's why I'm feeling so called to this creation and this work. And so, that resonates. I appreciate that. So share a story from your past where life sent you a difficult challenge to dance with, and where you really needed to step up with courage, and how you went through that dance, what supported you.
Interesting. Well, in 2018, my wife and I had a son, and there was complications in the hospital. We started with a home birth, and there were hospital complications that led to him being, he had brain damage.
Okay.
That wasn't necessarily that obvious at first, but over a 4-month period, it became very obvious, and then he didn't survive past 4 months old. Very challenging situation for me, where I needed to step up because Mama had an emergency C-section, and Lucas, our son, needed to be flown to another island because we didn't have the proper facility at the hospital. So I had to go with him and left Mama behind for a couple days to navigate all that. Wow. I remember flying in the ambulance airplane with him and getting to the new hospital and all the hubbub, and they just handed me a big stack of paperwork that I needed to sign, everything. And I was very inexperienced at the time of navigating that world, you know. And so I basically had to hold the space there for 2 days while being on the phone with Mama on the other island, and she made this miraculous recovery from the operation and got there pretty quickly. But we were there for 21 days in the NICU. From the moment they opened, we were at the door until they unlocked the door, and we were in with him all the way until they kicked us out at 11 o'clock at night every day. And it soon became obvious that we were going through a system of protocols. And the things that they were doing really, we were in a wing where there was 8 to 10 other babies at the same time. But because of our work situation, we're independently employed, we were able to be there the whole time. There was no other parents that were able to be there with their kids the whole time. And so we got to see what was going on there. And I began questioning everything that they were doing. And it became this huge power struggle between me and my wife and the head of the department, and then her boss, and then pretty soon everything that they did, I would research the hell out of for the hours that I had sitting there. And the things they were doing just didn't make sense. But I trust that the people working there, the nurses and the doctors, they had good intentions, but there's something else driving the system that is, it's about money. And I remember every day they'd come in and consult with us. Pretty soon they'd bring 2 people, 3 people, and pretty soon they would just have to come with a whole team of people. They were trying to separate us. They were bringing me in the back room, trying to convince me of something, to convince my wife of something. And so then we ended up talking to our attorney, just like we need to get out of here. This isn't helping anything, Wow. And then finally, we were just like, we're leaving. No, you can't leave unless you sign all these papers and stuff. And so eventually we got to a place where there's like a hotel room in the hospital. They're like, okay, if you spend one night in the hotel room and everything is okay, then we can let you go. I guess this is their protocol for liability, you know?
Okay.
And they put one of those house arrest cuffs on my wife and on the baby. And we were sleeping in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, they came busting down the door while we were sleeping in there. Where's the baby? Where's the baby? And we're just like, right here, you know? And they came in, and the cuff had like, the connection to his leg like moved. And they thought I took off with the baby. And, well, the next morning we were out of there, yeah. And we went home, and we were home for a few weeks, and nothing was really obvious at first. And then the earth started shaking, and the volcano erupted quite close to our house. And I was already slated to go to Italy to study some glass and to go to a conference. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a good idea to leave them home alone with all the earthquakes and the uncertainty of where the lava was going to flow. So we all went to Italy together. Okay. And when we were in Italy, it became quite obvious that something was not right with the development of our child. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we made it back to the States. Is this the story that is answering your question about a courageous experience?
Yeah.
So on our way back to Hawaii, we stopped in California and had a bunch of tests done, and it became really obvious that he was having seizures, several different types of seizures, and he was not meeting his developmental milestones whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to, pull us back into the system and administer all these solutions. And by doing our research, we saw, there really wasn't. It was better just to go home. Yeah. And so we went home, and things progressed, and he eventually passed away in his sleep one day while I was working in the studio. And I remember running in the house, and it was actually on the lanai in the front of our house, and I was doing the CPR that I had learned in the hospital in case something happened, and yeah, there was no response. And it was tough for me, but the love that a mother has for her child, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. And so I was, I just supported her, And so I had to show up. I had to show up with all my courage, with all my love, with everything I have. Yeah, and it's been a journey it's been almost 4 years since that happened, and we're still working through layers of it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you sharing that, bro.
Yeah. But I suspect that I question, you know, like I had to go, like I had to step up no matter what. No matter what fears or sadness or whatever was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've grieved, and I think at the same time, as a man, as a warrior, I had to push a lot of that aside so I could be there,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
I resonate with that.
And so I think I've done a lot of work around it. I've, like I said, been a sniveling, snot-filled baby on the ground, and I've pounded pillows until I had no more anger in me. And I've told the entire detailed story to a very trusted, wise elder friend, and yeah, it's quite a journey. Thanks for listening. Thanks for opening up this opportunity to be able to share, and hopefully it's of benefit to anybody who's listening, you know.
Thank you for sharing it, bro. It's courage personified. The sharing of it, and and everything that you had to go through in that experience. I can't imagine what that would even be like.
Yeah, thank you. It means a lot just to hear that, you know, to hear that you can't imagine what it would be like. That is like, that's if you ever know somebody who's going through something that is obviously very difficult, just say, I have no idea what it must be like for you. So many people didn't know what to say to me and to us, and just avoided us, and just disconnected from us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably some of the most painful part of the experience. And so thank you so much for just acknowledging that you couldn't imagine what it would be like.
And I also resonate with the place of like not knowing what to say to somebody, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's so fucking overwhelming to hear that, you know? It's like, yeah, and you get the sense of like just the heaviness of what that experience must be for whoever it is that's going through it. And wanting to be there and support, and not knowing even what that can look like.
Not knowing what to say or what to do, but I think just acknowledging, I can't imagine what you must be going through. There's no way I can imagine it. And if there's anything I can do, like what you're doing for me right now, just listening is huge. Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
And so you had another part of the question, which was what got me through, you know, and I think I touched on it a little bit, but I think my men's group really got me through. It was a safe spot, a safe place to really feel and express and get it out, you know. And also my artwork, my process of, I call it glass therapy. You know, I can go in the studio with feelings that I don't even know what they're attached to, and just like literally work through it with my hands, not even thinking, and just move through. Just by doing something that I really love to do, and then having somebody appreciate what I did, you know, buying a piece and sending a picture saying, look, we have a piece of Hawaii on our mantle in Colorado, and thank you so much, and we'll always remember our trip there. Yeah, just moving that energy and making something beautiful out of it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually wanted to say it when we were talking about the glass blowing earlier, that I'm going to include a link to your work in the show notes, because it's, some of the stuff that I've seen just from the photos looks so epic. And so, yeah, if you're listening to this, and those that are wanting to check out your work, I'll share some details there, because it is so beautiful, the things that you've made.
Thank you. Thank you, Gareth.
So what's something in your life right now that you're feeling like you need to access some courage with? What's
something in my life right now that I need to access some courage with? Well, I think going on my first podcast. And I think it's a step into a realm that I'm leaning into some real discomfort with this. But I think with the work that I've done in my men's group and in the couples group, and what I've shared with people on this trip that I've talked to, getting outside of my normal realm, it feels like there's another way that I can serve humanity that isn't related to the way I'm making a living right now. Maybe it's a way that I can make more of a living, maybe not, but it's some kind of service to other men, other couples is brewing. Yeah. And I would, we kind of talked a little bit about maybe us coming back here and maybe even bringing some of the men's circle work back here and see if we can make something more happen here. I think that would be wonderful to bring MKP and an initiation weekend potentially to Lake Atitlan here in San Marcos. I think that would be epic.
Yeah. Since we've spoken about it 2 nights ago when we had dinner, I'm feeling a strong call. And my men's circle is also Mankind Project format. And I didn't share with you yesterday, there are 3 brothers that have been through the initiation.
Oh, great.
So including the next level, which is called PIP or MIP, or what's the next level there's the initiation, and then there's something that ends in IP or something, like some sort of point holding. What's the man?
The
inside the
PIP training, right?
PIP training. Sorry, yeah.
The primary integration training.
Yeah. So one of the brothers has been through that. So
that's great.
We do have some skills in our circle that have been pretty prolific in making the pillar and the container that it is.
So that's great.
Yeah. But the idea of having an initiation weekend here would be epic. So I'd love to keep that conversation flowing and going.
Yeah, I look forward to continuing our connection and collaboration.
Sweet, bro. So where can people get hold of you if they want to check out your art? I've shared in the show notes, but what's the best place to connect with you?
So we have a website called Mo Hot Glass. My last name is Mo, M-O-E, and then Hot Glass, H-O-T-G-L-A-S-S. That's .com. And then we also have an Instagram page, which is Mo Hot Glass. And I'm very fortunate my wife does all the business end of my work.
Okay.
Pretty much all of it. And so she maintains the new photos on Instagram. That's where you see the latest work.
Cool.
And she's got a beautiful range she makes my work look so good. Yeah. So look it up and check it out, and please send a message if just say hi.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, bro, for your first podcast, I think you've been sparkling.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think what you spoke about at the beginning, which is that recognition that you feel comfortable with yourself, is a testament to the time that you've put into your personal development. And I resonated so much with you, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I got you in person before you left San Marcos. And I just want to say thank you for stepping into the edge, because I know when I first mentioned podcast, you were like, yes, no, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's probably been a dance that you've been with, but I just want to honor you for leaning into that. And
thank you. Yeah.
What you've shared here today is, as I said, courage personified, and I think it's a beautiful example of what it is that I want to share with the world, and I really appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for inviting me and being so encouraging and supportive without pressure. I really felt like drawn in to do this with your natural ability to draw me out, to be able to I trust you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your level of presence and eye contact, and I look forward to more connection with you, man.
Yeah, there's a YouTube version of this this podcast. So those that are listening to the audio version, if you want to see Daniel's beautiful face, it'll be great. We'll link that up as well. Brother, I really appreciate you, and thanks for being born.
Right on. Thank you.
Much love.
Okay, much love.
Ciao.
Okay, ciao.